Welcome back to the iProwL channel, everyone. If you're new here, welcome to my beating games in one sitting series. Basically, I find a game that I enjoy and try to beat it in one sitting. Also, my cat is making a bunch of noise right now, so give me a second. Although I beat these games in one sitting, this is not a speedrun. Mostly because I'm horrible at video games. Anyway, I can't stand up to get water, eat, or go to the bathroom. I'm stuck in the confines of my chair until I've fully beaten the game I've chosen. Oh, and I also make the entire thing harder with rules I set before the challenge. But more on that later. Today I am beating Splatoon 1's campaign in just one sitting. If you've been keeping up with my YouTube videos, you should know that I've made a video on Splatoon 1 before where I played multiplayer until I unlocked ranked. But in all 4 hours of playtime, I never touched the campaign mode. So one day, I wanted to unlock the gear you get for completing the campaign, but I also wanted to make a YouTube video since, my schedule is quite amazing. So without further delay, let me tell you about the rules of this challenge. So in order to make this challenge harder than it has to be, I made rules so that I don't completely keep my sanity. First off, I have to collect every sunken scroll from all 27 levels and 5 boss fights. That's a total of 32 scrolls. The scrolls from the boss fights are extremely easy to collect since they spawn right after you beat the boss, but the scrolls in levels are sometimes quite tricky to find and can be easily missed. So if I ever miss a scroll in a level, I cannot continue and must replay the level until I find the scroll. The next rule was decided on a whim since I like making my life as difficult as it possibly can be. It was that I could not upgrade my gear at any point in the challenge. As you play through the campaign, you collect power eggs that you can use to upgrade your gear and unlock new bombs. By not upgrading anything, I was forced to use the Splat Bomb alongside the slowest fire rate on my weapon and the slowest ink capacity in my tank. The next rule has to do with the gear you can find in the levels themselves. Armor and specials. Armor allows you to take extra damage before dying, and specials can either be an Ink Zuka to shoot enemies with, or a bubbler to be invincible for a short amount of time. I'm not allowed to use any of these. If I pick up armor by accident, I have to jump off the level or die immediately. If I accidentally pick up a special, I'm simply not allowed to use it. This is because the special isn't immediately used after you pick it up, and you can choose when you want to use it. Now this next rule I didn't necessarily state out loud as a rule, but I made an effort to do it, so I'll add it here anyway. Kill every enemy in every level before completing the level. Since I barely looked at my gamepad, I have no idea if I missed any enemies hiding in the ink, but I am pretty sure I wiped out the entire Octarian population from every single level. Although, if I had to play through a level a second time due to missing the sunken sea scroll, I wouldn't have to kill every enemy since I had already done so the first time. And finally, if I ever game over, I have to reset the entire playthrough. Oh, and of course, I can't stand up at all. Now that we've established the rules, let's jump right into Splatoon 1's campaign. After jumping through the sewer grate, we meet Captain Cuttlefish, our mentor in our quest to find the Great Zapfish. We change into our hero suit in less than 10 seconds and are immediately sent off to the first level. The first level serves as a tutorial level to help me relearn how to play the game properly. Splatoon 1's main mechanic is the ability to turn into a squid. So in this level, we learn how to use this mechanic in order to sneak behind Octotroopers and move faster overall. A little bit into the level, we get to this section where we have to distract the Octotrooper hiding behind a shield like a wuss, using a Splat Bomb so that we can ink them and move on. At this point, I thought I missed the sea scroll, but after launching to the next section, I found it after climbing up these pillars. With the scroll collected, I went on a rampage getting rid of every single enemy, unlocked 2 different vaults, and grabbed the Zapfish at the end. I did die once, but that's just because I'm an idiot, so we don't talk about it, okay? Moving on to the second level, Captain Cuttlefish teaches us how to climb up walls using our squid transforming powers. We also learn about these balloon-looking things. When we shoot at them, they explode, covering a large margin of the walls and ground in our ink color. I have no idea what the official name for these are, so if any of you guys know, please let me know in the comments because I'm quite interested in finding out what these are actually called. But for now, I'll just call them ink balloons. In this level, we meet new enemies called the Octopod and Octoballs. Octopods just run at me and are easily killable, while Octoballs roll at me, covering the ground behind them in their ink. In order to kill one of these octoballs, we first have to submerge it in our ink before shooting at it, as shooting at it beforehand will cause it to bounce around like a plinko ball. Moving past that, we meet the squeegee. These little guys are incapable of dealing damage, but their main job is to attach to walls to suck up our ink to keep us from progressing through the level. But I kinda just speed up the wall, so this encounter is pretty useless. While walking across this grate, my spidey senses start tingling and I drop through the grate to collect our second sunken sea scroll. With the scroll collected, I speed through the level, killing every enemy, using this ink cannon to ink up this massive wall, and collecting the zapfish at the end. With 2 zapfish collected, we have one last level before we can fight the boss in this island. This level is the first octocopter level where we meet the octocopter. They just fly around, so they aren't much of an issue to deal with. Throughout this level, we find these ink rails which we shoot in order to traverse across large gaps. This is also the first level where we find armor and special items. These ones are pretty simple to avoid since they aren't in the direct path we need to go through, so I can simply just ignore them. Using my 20/20 vision once again, I spot the sunken sea scroll on top of pillars and collect it with ease. This allows me to just run through the level without having to worry about not having the scroll already collected. Right before we reach the zapfish, we meet the Octobomber. This enemy spits out splat bombs at us, which detonate after 1 second. An annoying attack for sure, but for this level, still an easy enemy to defeat. And with the Octobomber down, the zapfish is ours. With all the zapfish from this island collected, the boss kettle has opened up and we can experience our first boss fight, which is with the mighty Octostomp. Well, not so mighty. You'll see. The main gist of this boss fight is that the Octostomp runs over to us and tries to stomp on us using its face. Our job is to quickly swim out of the way, ink its sides, and climb up to shoot its tentacle on its back. Oh shoot. Okay, now how the hell do I manage to die on the easiest boss in the game? Okay, there we go, boss fight. Alright, that's much better. As I stated in the beginning, with these boss fights, the scroll automatically spawns upon beating the boss, so I'm able to collect the scroll and the zapfish right at the end. Beating the boss causes the outlet the kettle is connected to overheat, breaking the electrified fence and allowing us to use the ink rail to move on to the second island. Now I accidentally mess up the level order on the second island, so we start with level 6 instead of level 4. In this level, we don't meet any new enemies, but we are introduced to these propeller lifts. To use them, we just shoot the propeller and ascend high up into the sky. We use these propellers to rain hell from above on unsuspecting Octotroopers and traverse across water. For some reason, although we're squids, we can't swim in water, which by my calculations should not be the case. So I have a feeling that our character lacks the brain cells needed to know how to flap their arms in water to stay afloat. I mean, like, even a dog can do it, how the hell can we not? After the water section, we reach the end of the level, where we shoot the propellers to lower down blocks that we climb on. And that's when I realized that I'm a frickin' dumbass. I missed the sunken sea scroll. After rechecking the final area, I confirmed that I definitely missed the scroll, so I quickly grabbed the zapfish and immediately jumped back into the level to find it. Rerunning through the level, I find the scroll underneath this propeller platform, which, looking back, is kind of obvious. Like, how did I miss that?
An idiot sandwich.
But anyway, I zoom back to the end of the level, grab the fake zapfish plush, and we are officially done with level 4. Well, level 6, but let's just call it level 4. After realizing I skipped level 4 and 5, I find kettle number 4 to get myself back on track. In the real level 4, we are introduced to gushers that when shot, shoot a skyward burst of ink that we can climb in squid form. Using these gushers, we can attack enemies from above, while also using them to hide in if we take any damage. A little later into the level, we meet a new enemy called an Octostamp. These enemies are miniature versions of the mighty Octostomp, so all we have to do is avoid them when they try to stamp us, and shoot their backs for a quick and easy kill. After steaming through a batch of enemies, we reach the final checkpoint where I believed I saw the sunken sea scroll earlier on in the level.
Oh, it isn't it. Okay, so I sped run for nothing.
Well, turns out, it wasn't the scroll. But luckily, the very next crate I broke had the scroll in it, so I was able to kill the last remaining enemy and grab the Zapfish to complete the real level 4. Jumping straight into level 5, we are immediately introduced to a sponge which grows in size the more we shoot it with our colored ink. I ended up dying right before the checkpoint because I wasn't patient enough to sit back and heal when I was already on the brink of death. But luckily, the next time around was much different and I actually survived. Using the sponges to traverse the level, we make it to a launch pad that shoots us into a fighting ring with 2 octoballs and a sponge in the middle. I ink up the surrounding ground and watch as the octoballs roll right into their inevitable demise. Captain Cuttlefish mentions that enemy attacks cause sponges to shrink, which is perfectly timed with octoballs spawning right in front of me on a platform I can't ink since it's made of metal. Luckily, my survival instincts kick in and I jump over the octoballs, causing them to roll onto the sponges and fall to their death. We then find an already fully expanded sponge, which by itself already looks pretty suspicious. But when you look closer, the sponge is actually expanded over a grate in order to hide it. To get through, we have to use enemy attacks to shrink the sponge and then slip through in squid form to grab the scroll hidden beneath. The rest of the level consists of more sponge platforming and a nice cannon section where I get to demolish the remaining enemies.
How do you miss with a freaking cannon, you dumbass?
And with all the enemies out of the way, the Zapfish is ours. With level 5 complete, we are back on track and continue in level order from level 7 onwards. In Spreader Splatfest, there are spreaders that simply spread the enemy's ink across the ground. They move back and forth, which gives the sense that we have to move quickly to make it across, but they really aren't that bad to deal with. Before moving across this ink rail, I spot the sunken sea scroll in probably one of the most hidden locations I've seen yet. If I didn't spot it now, I probably would have missed it entirely. But now that I know where it is, all I focus on is killing all the enemies and getting to the scroll as fast as possible. And although it was for a very small amount of time, we met a new enemy called the Octodiver. As you can see from the freeze frame I'm showing right now, it rose from the ink in front of me as soon as I got close, but immediately died since I was already shooting in its direction. These enemies can hide in their ink just like us, and only pop out when you are within shooting distance. In order to know the location of these enemies at all times, you have to look at the gamepad. But as I stated in my rules earlier, I barely looked at the gamepad, so I just ended up running around like an idiot to see if any would spawn. Moving on to the next section, I hop on a quick ride to descend and collect the 7th Sunken Sea Scroll. Turns out I forgot to say this, but after collecting the scroll, I storm through the rest of the level and destroy all the enemies. To be honest, I have no idea what I'm doing in this last enemy section, but it worked out, so I'm not complaining.
There's that.
So with that, I grab the Zapfish, and level 7 is over and done with. Welcome to level 8, or what I'll call our first multiplayer level. Most of you are probably wondering what the hell I mean by that since I'm playing the single player campaign, but if you've played Splatoon 1 before, you'll definitely recognize Kelp Dome. I call this level a multiplayer level because for starters, these levels take place inside of a multiplayer map. And 2, our enemies are the Octolings. Octolings act similar to human opponents in the multiplayer modes, with practically the same equipment as us, as well as the ability to hide in their own ink. Our goal for this level is simple: kill all the Octolings, find the sea scroll hidden within the level, and grab the Zapfish. There is nothing extra added to this level, it's just me versus the Octolings. The easiest way to go about this level is by following the path laid out via power eggs, while straying off every time I see a crate that can potentially hold the scroll. Since there really isn't much to talk about in this level, I'll just whip up a montage of me killing every Octoling, grabbing the scroll, and grabbing the Zapfish at the end. Welcome to the first UFO level. Once again, this level takes place in a multiplayer stage, but instead of Octolings, we have normal enemies. Alongside these normal enemies, however, is the Octostriker, Remember those ink strikes from my last Splatoon 1 video? Yeah, this enemy has an endless supply of those. This map is covered in octodivers, so instead of looking at the gamepad like a normal person, I run around the entire area to see if there are any enemies lurking within the ink. I find the scroll with relative ease this time around, so that's one less thing to worry about as I try to find all of these hidden octodivers. I mean, just take a look at this area over here. There are so many octodivers, it is driving me nuts.
Holy crap.
But after that mess, we launch up to the unidentified flying object where we get to fight the Octostriker. One thing I realized about the enemies when fighting the Octostriker was that no matter how many times I killed them, they just kept respawning. So there was no real reason to focus on killing the little octocopters. Once the Octostriker was taken down, all the octocopters died with it. So I grabbed the Zapfish and completed the level. With all the Zapfish from this island collected, the boss kettle opened up, and it's time for our second boss fight. The second boss we are fighting is called the Octonozzle. Just like the Octostomp, it has a tentacle we have to shoot, but unlike the Octostomp, to reveal its tentacle, we have to shoot its octopus-looking cup things first. The Octonozzle shoots out balls like the Octoballs from its nozzle and kicks them towards us. They're really easy to dodge, and once we burst its first octopus things, the tentacle is revealed and we can shoot it to move on to stage 2. Stage 2 of the fight introduces a second laser to the Octonozzle, as well as extra suction cups we have to shoot. I will now refer to these things as suction cups, since that is what the Splatoon wiki refers to them as. The Octonozzle still has the exact same attack, only adding extra balls to kick at us every now and then, but after destroying 2 suction cups, the tentacle is once again revealed and we move on to stage 3. Instead of adding another layer, the Octonozzle adds more suction cups for me to shoot, which I do. And that's this boss defeated. I'll take the scroll and give me that Zapfish. You don't deserve it. With the boss defeated, the kettle overheats the outlet it's connected to once again and breaks another electrified fence containing the ink rail to move on to Island 3. Taking one good look at this island, it looks confusing as hell. So I decide to find all the kettles first so that I can just super jump to the next kettle after finishing each level. With that said, let's jump right into level 10. Level 10 has ink rails. Like, a bunch of them. Ink rail here, ink rail there, ink rails everywhere. Our main method of movement throughout this level is by ink rails. We use these ink rails to catch Octotroopers off guard, and I also curb stomp this Octodiver by complete accident, so that's pretty cool too. We then reach this section with 3 ink rails, which we use to ascend to the launch pad. I take a quick look around the launch pad area to make sure I don't miss anything, and lo and behold, there's a sunken sea scroll at the back of the pillar. Now, for this section, I think I'll just let past me describe my thought process here.
Okay, so as you can see, there's specials around the area, so you'd be expected to jump right to the middle and then kill people from the middle. But, specials aren't really my thing. Special weapons aren't really my thing, I'd say.
After that, we reach the final checkpoint, where I calmly and quietly make my way to the top, killing every Octotrooper in my way and grabbing the Zapfish. You know, saying that sentence reminds me of something that I wanted to do last year. I guess it doesn't matter. Level 11 is where we are introduced to invisible platforms. As you can see here, there is no visible way to cross and only an ink balloon directly in the center of this pit. We shoot the balloon and voila! A path is inked up for us to cross. Basically, in order to progress, we have to ink the invisible platforms in order to know which area is safe to walk over without falling to our doom. Not only are there invisible platforms, there are also invisible boxes, which this Octoling uses to hide behind.
I'm too scared, bro. You know what? Come here. Yeah, I'm not no wuss.
Okay, what the heck is that? Moving through the level, there is a very obvious crate that probably has the sunken sea scroll inside it, but it is blocked by an invisible ramp. After killing the Octoballs, I fall to my death. After re-killing the octoballs, I drop onto an invisible platform and grab the scroll. The next section requires me to basically paint the entire invisible wall to find a small opening that I can swim through and use to kill the octotroopers waiting on the other side. Now I have to traverse a completely invisible path by shooting in front of me and hoping that there's a platform there. The squeegees actually help me figure out where the decently large platforms and walls are, but the rest comes down to me shooting in every direction possible. Making it to the final checkpoint, all that's blocking me from the zapfish are invisible platforms and enemies. I slowly make my way up, killing each enemy as carefully as possible, and the zapfish is mine. Level 12 introduces us to flooders. They are these machines that move in set patterns and flood ink onto the space directly below them. They are unkillable and kill us in an instant if we end up underneath them, and if they ever see us, they charge at us like there's no tomorrow. The main goal of this level is to avoid the flooders from each section while also trying to find a key to open up a vault in order to launch to the next section. After running around finding keys to unlock different vaults, I reach the final checkpoint. In this area, an octodiver is hiding with the key, so my job is to use the gamepad to find him and grab the key. Unluckily for me, I wasn't paying attention to Captain Cuttlefish, so I ended up spending way too long just running in circles and trying to avoid the flooders to no avail. Until I just happened to glance at my gamepad and noticed a glaring shiny dot in the middle of the maze, leading me right to the octodiver. On the way to the zapfish, I noticed a crate which by my calculations should have the scroll inside of it since it was pretty well hidden. With the scroll collected, I was forced to re-run through the entire level a second time, but this time I grabbed the zapfish and we move on to level 13. Level 13 has shifting platforms that, well, shift. They shift from side to side, crossing a grate each time, which we can slip right through utilizing our squid form. Throughout the level, we utilize these platforms to shoot enemies at different angles, and avoid any incoming damage. Keeping my head on a swivel, I notice a set of crates that seem a bit out of the way, so I head over and find the sunken scroll hidden right inside of one. Now that I've got the scroll, it's time to get moving, so I begin to run through the level while killing everything in my path. I actually ended up falling off the level because I was a bit too focused on finishing the level as fast as possible, so I start running through the level with care. And what's my reward? That's right, it's the zapfish. What, do you think I was gonna die again? Sorry, but I don't die twice. Not yet, at least. Welcome to the second Octoling multiplayer stage of the campaign. This time we are brawling at the Black Belly skate park. Just like last time, the goal is the same. Kill all the Octolings, grab the scroll, and grab the zapfish. So once again, here's a short montage of the level. Once again, welcome to another UFO level. This level takes place at Bluefin Depot, which means there are two different paths that can contain the scroll and enemies, which means I'll have to check both paths for each. I start on the left side, almost accidentally grabbing armor in the process, and proceed to kill every Octarian in sight. The right side contains the same enemies, but instead of armor, there's a crate with power eggs inside. Right behind the second last checkpoint of the level is the sunken scroll. No gamer ever looks behind them, so it was the perfect hiding spot. We then make it to the Octostriker's UFO, where I focus all of my energy onto the Octostriker and take him down in around 10 seconds. And with that, the final zapfish of Island 3 is mine. With that final zapfish collected, the boss kettle opens up and it is time for our third boss fight. The third boss of the campaign is the Octowhirl. Just like the last two bosses, the Octowhirl also has a tentacle we need to shoot 3 times. But this boss is actually somewhat of a challenge, compared to the other two. The Octowhirl acts like an Octoball. The only way I'll be able to do damage to it is if I slow it down to a full stop in our own ink. By strategizing properly, I'm able to force the Octowhirl into a full stop, and I'm able to shoot its tentacle, bringing us to the second stage. Stage 2 actually ramps up the difficulty in this fight by making the middle section of the platform rotate. This requires us to shoot our ink precisely in line with when the Octowhirl is going to roll at us in order to stop it. I actually fail at doing this the first time the Octowhirl rolled at me, but I was able to stop it the second time around and move on to Stage 3. Stage 3 takes it up a notch by removing some of the flooring and replacing it with glass. We can't ink glass, so we now also have to take into consideration which section of flooring the Octowhirl will roll across, instead of just constantly inking the ground in front of us. The first time the Octowhirl started rolling didn't have good timing with the platform rotation, so I purposefully dodged to the side in order to have as little ground covered in purple ink. The second time the Octowhirl started charging up to roll had perfect timing, and I was able to slow it down one last time to finally finish the boss fight. And with the scroll and zapfish collected, Island 3 is fully complete. Wow, looky here, more electrified fences containing an ink rail inside have been broken. Island 4 looks simple enough to navigate, but trust me when I say I had some serious trouble trying to find where all the kettles were. I found 5 easily, no sweat, but the 6th one took me a good 5 minutes to find. I know that doesn't seem long, but when you're trying to beat a game without standing up once and you're hungry, thirsty, and feel the need to take a massive number 2 in your toilet, 5 minutes feels like a lifetime. But anyway, on to level 16. Level 16 brings back the propeller lifts, but this time instead of being small platforms that go up, the propellers are now attached to big platforms that open up horizontally. We use these platforms to climb up the walls using the propeller as a time limit. Making our way through the level, I find these pillars that I like to call the 3 pillars of nonsense, because to be honest, I have no idea why these are even here. But despite that little distraction, I find the sunken scroll across this small water gap where I have to shoot a propeller with the ink cannon to bring a platform across. I hop onto the platform and start riding across, absolutely melting any enemies that spawn in, thinking that they'll get away from the nozzle of my hero shot. Using a well-timed jump, I'm able to grab the scroll and move on to the final checkpoint. Here, Octolings appear and jump down onto us to try and end our life. Unluckily for them, they were aim trained by stormtroopers and could not hit a single shot. So, free zapfish for me, I guess. After completing level 16, we get new companions in Callie and Agent 1 and Agent 2 of the new Squidbeak Splatoon. I forgot to say this earlier, but Captain Cuttlefish kinda got, squidnapped, so we need these guys to help us, yeah. With our new companions guiding us, we move on to level 17. In this level, we finally meet another new enemy called the Octosniper. The Octosniper is a long-ranged enemy with a sniper, or charger in Splatoon terms, as its weapon. If it spots us, it locks on with a red laser and fires a deadly shot after a short charge time. The easiest way to avoid the shots is by hiding in our own ink and letting the Octosniper shoot at nothing but air molecules. Once we get close to the Octosniper, killing it is as easy as saying the word banana 3 times fast. You can try it, it's quite easy. These Octosnipers have crazy range though, so throughout the entire level, I have to be careful not to get into the line of sight of the Octosnipers, or else it'll be a quick death for me. After taking care of this Octosniper, I walk right into 2 more that stand on a moving platform that goes behind a wall after a few seconds. Using this downtime allows me to slowly creep forwards and get up close and personal with the Octosnipers. I then make it to this ring area with an Octosniper in the middle, where I simply just ink next to it and jump over to kill it first before killing the rest of the enemies. At the next sections, sponges make a return. If the Octosniper shoots a sponge, the size of the sponge gets reduced significantly. We use these sponges to quickly jump close to each Octosniper, which leads us to the final checkpoint, which is just a gauntlet of enemies. Instead of describing this section in a voiceover, I'll just let you watch this insanity play out.
Is that? Oh my god.
If you are paying attention, you've probably realized that I don't have the scroll yet. After rechecking the final area, I confirm that the scroll is nowhere to be found. So this is the second level that I'll have to redo in order to grab the scroll. On the rerun through, I come up with the wonderful idea to slip through this sewer grate, and to my reward, I find the scroll right underneath. With the scroll collected, I rush through the rest of the level and grab my second Zapfish plush. Level 18 brings back the spreaders. But instead of only moving side to side or up and down, they are now spinning around in circles. Now, anyone with a brain could probably realize that finding the scroll in this level will probably have something to do with utilizing the ability to stand on top of the spreaders. And to no one's surprise, I find the scroll on a platform that can only be reached by jumping from the edge of a spreader. You know, sometimes the scroll is easy to spot, and sometimes the scroll is in hard to find areas. But I'm not going to complain since having the scroll early on makes playing the level a bit more relaxing. With the scroll collected, my new goal is to simply kill every enemy and not die. If I were to take my own words, they'd probably be this.
We are so locked in.
Launching over to the final checkpoint, Agent 2 smells octolings nearby. Sounds like this is going to be a tough challenge for me. Never mind. I swear, these octolings have no idea how to use their weapons. Their shots weren't even coming close to me. Anyway, with the vault key in hand, we ride the ink rail up and the Zapfish is ours for the taking. Level 19 brings back the splatforms, but instead of being shifty, these platforms rotate. After almost running right into this piece of armor, I get launched over to very simple platform parkour with an enemy to fight every now and then. I am not gonna lie, being 15 pages deep into my script currently, I am running out of things to say. This is where I wish my vocabulary was a bit better than average. Anyway, enough ranting. I'd like to know where these Octotroopers get their shoes from, because they got some crazy grip. They do not slip, even when rotated a full 90 degrees. Making it to the final checkpoint, we meet the tumbling platform gauntlet. I platform across the first little section, then remember that I don't have the scroll yet, so I turn my camera backwards to check if there are any crevices in the platform, luckily finding the scroll in a pretty hidden area. To finish off the level, I climb 3 of these rotating platforms in a row, and just like Agent 2 says, it's Zapfish time. With 4 out of 6 Zapfish collected from this island, you already know it's time for another Octoling multiplayer level. This time we are headed to Bluefin Depot, and just like the last 2 of these levels, it's time for a montage. Okay, I'm gonna have to cut the montage for a second here because as you can see, I have 1 life remaining before I game over. So I really have to lock in now or else I'll be restarting the entire run. As with all the last Zapfish on the last 2 islands, Island 4 is no different, with our last Zapfish level being a UFO level. This UFO level takes place in Urchin Underpass, which means there are a bunch of areas that I'll have to check for the scroll and enemies. There are a plethora of enemies in this level, basically having most of the enemies we've met so far show up at some point in the level. I end up running into a firing squad of Octotroopers and Octocopters at the middle of the level, which was a little bit scary, but it's satisfying to listen to their death sound effects when I kill them. I find the scroll in a little hidden area, guarded by a singular Octobomber, but the Octostriker wanted to chip in and be annoying, so I had to dodge out of the way of the ink strikes as well. Getting close to the Octostriker, I end up dying to an Octobomber's splat bomb like a dummy, and have to recollect the scroll for a second time. Getting back to where I was, I get my revenge on the Octobomber and launch over to the Octostriker's UFO, where I swiftly take care of him. And that's the last Zapfish of Island 4 collected. As usual, the boss kettle of this island opens up and we get to fight our 4th boss. This boss fight is against the Octoma. The Octoma will swim under us and attempt to bite us using its sharp teeth. My job is to shoot his teeth enough in order to break an opening that I can throw a splat bomb through. Once we throw a bomb in the Octoma's mouth, we can shoot his tentacle and move on to the next stages where his teeth simply get more sturdy and harder to break. Since this boss fight was actually pretty interesting, I'll let you guys watch it with minimal cuts, without me talking over it. Two, three, boom. There we go. Phase 2 done. And this guy got golden teeth. Oh, look at that aim. Glorious. With the boss down, I grab the scroll and the zapfish and complete Island 4. Listening to the conversation after the boss fight, Agent 1 gives a major hint to who the final boss is, and Agent 2 just tells this dude to get his own radio channel. For real bro, stop hogging ours. But anyway, more electrified fences have been broken, but instead of an ink rail, it opens up a short parkour section that I absolutely steam through. Island 5 looks confusing to navigate, and it is, but it's mostly just annoying. However, after just 3 short minutes, I find all the kettles and can begin collecting zapfish. And what a better way to begin than a level that introduces something new. Level 22 introduces splat switches. You see this thing on the wall? Yeah, that's a splat switch. If we ink up the switch, it basically causes a change in the level. In this scenario, switching the switch causes a pillar to form. The next switch moves a platform so that we can jump across to the checkpoint, where we get a decision between a bubbler or an inkzuka. I go for option C and choose none of them, and launch right into the fighting ring. I'm alright at fighting multiple enemies at once, so there weren't any problems, and I easily took care of all the enemies. The next splat switch shifted the whole arrangement of blocks around, letting me climb up and shoot another splat switch that tried to hide the sunken scroll, but my eye spotted that way before shooting the switch. So after killing the enemies, I grab the scroll and move on to another kill the enemy section, where I roll through every enemy in my way. More splat switching later, I make it to the final checkpoint, which to my surprise, is a kill the enemy section. But not only that, it's also an ambush. Flutters appear out of the ground and Octo Troopers are also there to ruin my day. But despite the ambush, I still managed to kill the Octo Troopers, grab the key, and take home the zapfish with ease. Level 23 is next, and it brings back the sponges. The motto of the level is more ink, less shrink, meaning that we'll have to focus on navigating across the sponges while enemies shoot at us and shrink them. After dealing with some Octo stamps, I spot the scroll right underneath the first checkpoint. While going to grab it, I almost ended up dying because of an Octo Trooper that kept shooting the goddamn sponge! So you know I had to take care of that pressing issue. Now that I have the scroll, I'm much more relaxed and can focus on what's in front of me, which is unluckily a pathway of sponges with enemies on the side. It is expected for the player to grab the inkzuka and shoot forwards, inking the sponges and the enemies in one shot. But who needs an inkzuka when you got a hero shot? Yeah, I think I might need it. Jokes aside, with 1 life remaining, I take extra precaution when getting close to the Octo Trooper at the end. And with the only problem child down, I make it across and launch to the next checkpoint where I can finally take a breather. This ink balloon makes it much easier to traverse across the sponges since it fully expands them in one explosion, making my life a whole lot easier. At the next checkpoint, Agent 2 gives some life-changing advice, which is to simply just shoot the sponges. You know what? That's a great idea, why don't I try it out? Oh my god, you're a genius! Now I'm at the final checkpoint, and I once again have to deal with these Octolings. They actually shot some shots in my direction this time, but they're still struggling with the hitting me part. But it's whatever because the zapfish is mine. We're on to the last 4 levels and we're still introducing some new obstacles. Level 24 introduces these spinning pinwheels with platforms and grates attached to them that we have to avoid, kind of similar to the spinning spreaders. After passing the first checkpoint, I have to navigate very thin platforms and try to not fall off as I engage with unshielded and shielded Octotroopers. I find the sunken scroll in a really obvious location this time and move on to another thin platform section. In this section, there's an Inkzuka special right in front of where we have to jump across. Any normal person would see this and go, "Oh well, I guess I gotta grab it." But I'm iProwL. I'm not normal. So with some careful precision, I jump across without grabbing the Inkzuka and make it to the next checkpoint. To make it to the final checkpoint, I simply just climb a vertical pinwheel, and here we are. Here, the shifting platforms make an appearance in combination with the pinwheels of this level. I have to time my jump onto the platforms while also avoiding getting knocked off by the pinwheels. The last thing I have to do is climb up this vertical pinwheel. And with that, another Zapfish has been collected. Level 25 brings back the flutters. Once again, I have to navigate through small mazes filled with flutters in order to find a key to open up a vault. The difference here is that when we take the launch pad from the vault, we get sent up to the top of the maze where we have to platform across the flutters to reach the launch pad that'll take us to the next section. I do this at the next section as well, this time paying attention to the gamepad so I know where I'm going, and all of a sudden, I'm at the final checkpoint. Octotroopers spawn on top of the flutters, and one has an Octo Sniper on top of it. I almost got absolutely slaughtered in the corner because I was unable to move due to the enemy ink, but I somehow survived. I kill the Octo Sniper, giving me the vault key, kill the rest of the Octotroopers, and take the launch pad just to realize that I still don't have the scroll. I turn around and see a section that I did not get launched to, and notice that the scroll is right smack dab in the center of the island. So unfortunately, this is the 3rd level in which I have to redo in order to grab the sunken scroll. Now this is where I start to feel a little bit stupid. Just listen to this.
Yeah, I got no clue. I see it.
It was visible at the very start of the level. I'm blind as hell. Anyway, I grab the scroll, run through the level again, and grab my least favorite Zapfish plush of the day. We finally have 2 levels remaining until we can fight the final boss. By the theme of the last few islands, you probably already know what the last 2 levels are, but for those of you who are a bit confused, level 26 is the final Octoling multiplayer level, and this time, we're brawling at Salt Spray Rig. And since it's an Octoling level, you already know what time it is. It's montage time. It's time to grab our last Zapfish. And of course, the one holding that Zapfish is the Octo Striker in his UFO level. We're back at the Black Belly skate park. Last time, we were here for an Octoling Rumble, but now, we're here to grab the last Zapfish we need before we can fight the final boss of this game. One issue that is completely unrelated to the level but is a major problem was the fact that my gamepad was almost out of battery. I don't have those AC charging adapters for the gamepad, so I've just been running through this game on a time limit, since if my gamepad dies, I'll have to stand up and go charge it. So let's just hope it doesn't die. In this UFO level, there are Octo Snipers everywhere. Unluckily for the Octo Snipers, at this point, I am locked in, so I'm not going to get caught slacking at any point. I find the scroll immediately, but can't grab it just yet, so instead, I roam the level to kill any Octo Snipers I may have missed. I then go up and grab the scroll, before eradicating the last few Octo Snipers in the level. Then launch up to the UFO to fight the last Octo Striker. As per usual, I get up close and personal with the Octo Striker and take him down in a matter of seconds, revealing the final Zapfish. And you already know I'm grabbing it with no hesitation. With all the little zapfish collected, the final boss kettle opens up and we can finish this playthrough once and for all. And our final boss we get to fight is the one and only Octobot King. Loading into the level, Captain Cuttlefish warns us that it's a trap. Everyone could already tell that it was a trap just by the looks of it, but we've come so far now that we don't really have a choice but to step right into it. And this is where we meet the Octobot King, DJ Octavio, who seems to like celery sticks? Are those celery sticks? I have no idea. DJ Octavio launches Octorpedoes that home in on us that we have to shoot before they get too close. These Octorpedoes are the last new enemy that we are introduced to in this game. DJ Octavio also decides it's a great idea to try to pummel us with his fists, so he launches his rocket fists at us that we parry back at him to knock his flying machine backwards. This is just the start of the boss fight, so it's not meant to be hard. We keep knocking Mr. Celery Sticks back until he decides to use his special attack. His special attack is a pretty small octopus bomb that we have to knock back at him 3 times in a row in order to send him over to the next section of the fight. Well, he technically goes over there by himself, but I'd rather think that he just goes flying after we hit him with his own special attack, so... In the second section of the fight, Agent 2 warns me that the celery dude is about to hit me with a mean laser. Luckily, dodging out of the way is a piece of cake. I shoot one of Mr. Octavio's fists back at him and take a propeller lift to the other side. I then fire 2 of his fists back at him, giving me the space to take a second propeller lift back to the main platforms. On this platform, the sunken scroll is just sitting on a crate out in the open, so that means the last scroll we need has been officially collected. With the last scroll under my belt, I can focus all of my attention on the horrible DJ in front of me. Nah, seriously, you need lessons. I continuously knock his fists back and press forwards, forcing Mr. Anger Issues to pull out his special attack once again. Alongside the Octorpedoes, Octavio also shoots out a killer whale to try to get me to stop shooting his miniature bomb back at him. It doesn't work though, and we move on to section 3. Oh wait, Octavio is holding wasabi? Shoo, my bad, I legit thought it was celery. The next section brings back the sponges, but we can't cross yet since Wasabi Beats over here is being a slight annoyance. Back up, buddy. Back up. Moving forwards, Wasabi Scratcher launches egg-looking projectiles that spawn in enemies when they hit the ground. Luckily, they're not that bad to deal with and we can knock him back some more. When the next round of fists come along, I get to utilize these ink balloons that instantly send back the fist if it is timed properly, which helps me force Octavio back into using a special attack once again. When he launches the bomb, he also launches a wave of Octorpedoes, eggs, and a killer whale to try to distract me. But I masterfully dodge each attack and send back his octopus bomb 3 times in a row to move on to section 4. Section 4 has the invisible platforms that we have to ink up in order to know where we're going. Since the invisible platforms aren't the main focus of this level, they aren't that hard to navigate, and are pretty simple to see. After knocking back DJ Wasabi a little bit, we reach an invisible platform section where there's a small path that leads to a gusher. I first focus on launching Octavio's fists back at him before even stepping 1 foot onto the invisible path, making sure that it's completely safe so I don't fall off and die. Continuing to push Octavio back, it's time to drop the sea base with another one of his special attacks. Since I'm in a more open area, it's way easier to dodge all of his attacks, and sending the bomb back isn't any harder. After hitting Octavio for the 4th time, Agent 1 and Agent 2 complete their radio override and start playing their own tunes as the Squid Sisters. Somehow, hearing his granddaughter singing gives Captain Cuttlefish some newfound strength because he breaks the rope tying him up and starts jamming out. I'd love to jam out with him, but I still have a boss to fight. Callie says it's the final push, which makes me ecstatic since at this point I'm already hungry beyond belief, so it's time to put DJ Octavio in his place. Marie once again gives some inspirational advice, but at this point in the boss fight, I'm completely focused. My mind went blank as I kept pressing forwards and knocking DJ Octavio further and further back. I guess the thought of food gave me the ability to enter a zone and completely focus on the task at hand. I knock the DJ all the way to the end, where he sends one last special attack at me, hoping to defeat me once and for all. But unfortunately for him, reality is a cruel, cruel world. I send back his special once, twice, and a 3rd time, and launch the Wasabi Man himself right back into his flying machine, finishing this fight once and for all. We return the Great Zapfish back to Inkopolis, where Callie and Marie make the special announcement that it is finally returned. Now that it's back, it's about time for celebration. And with the party about to begin, the credits roll. While I splat up the credits with color-changing ink, I'd like to thank you all for watching this video all the way to the end. Now that I'm finishing up the script, it feels so good since I've been I can't even speak, I've been stressed out lately, oh my god. On the topic of that, I am so sorry it has been so long since I've uploaded a video. Ever since school started, I've rarely had time to edit, and once it reached the point where I hadn't uploaded for a full month, I decided that I had to come back with something good. I created multiple videos varying between commentary, funny moments, and just fun in general, but I just never found the time to edit them. That's when I remembered that I did this Splatoon challenge on Twitch, and decided that no matter how long it takes, I will come back with this video. Because you guys deserve quality content. On the topic of quality content, it's been so long that I've forgotten how to speak English in front of my microphone. So I messed up this voiceover way too many times to count. It took way too long to finish, oh my god. Looking back at the amount of time I spent on this video, I played the game for a total of 3 hours, which is not that much. But I spent a full month scripting. I started scripting this video on September 15th, and at the time of me reading this script right now, it is October 19th. And the only reason it took so long to script was because I simply had no time to do it. And also, I am lazy, I guess. As of right now, I have no idea how long it'll take to edit this whole thing, but editing iProwL has probably already put up text stating how long it's been. I'll assume it probably took a week or so because these videos take a long time to produce, but I hope the finished product is of high quality. Anyway, enough about how long this video took, and more about thanking you all for being patient and watching this video to the fullest. If you enjoyed it, consider leaving a like and subscribing for future content, and comment down below any games you'd like to see me play. Doing videos like these happen every once in a while since I mostly enjoy just making commentary styled videos a bit more than these voiceover styled videos, mostly because of the amount of time it takes. But if you guys want more, I'll 100% make more, since doing these videos lets me be more creative throughout the whole process. Another issue with doing these voiceovers that you probably heard in that last sentence, or maybe even throughout the video, is just that my mic just randomly does this random cutout thing. Every time I start recording my new audio, it just cuts out. I don't get it. So I tried to leave as little of those cuts in as possible, but they might still be there. But now that this video's over, you should check out the other 2 videos I've made in this type of format. Beating Five Nights at Freddy's Pizzeria Simulator in one sitting, and beating New Super Mario Bros. Wii in one sitting. As always, I've been iProwL, and I'll see you in my next video.